Maryland takes down Michigan.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com, and host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. The Maryland Terrapins showed fight last night to take down Michigan in one of the better wins of the season. The Terps took down Michigan 57-64 in a home game to move to 2-3 in the Big Ten and 11-6 overall. And it was a really impressive win, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons that made it a little bit more impressive than a lot of the wins that I've seen this year. Plus, it's a Michigan team. Plus, it's a Big Ten win. But it was really important, first of all, because it's a Big Ten win. Any Big Ten win is impressive. I don't care if we're playing Purdue. I don't care if we're playing Indiana. I don't care if we're playing Michigan State at Michigan State when Michigan State is in peak Tom Izzo era, or if we're playing anyone in the conference, Rutgers. I don't care who we're playing. Any Big Ten win in that league, really basketball or football, is a really solid win. Even more so basketball than football, because there are so many solid basketball players that are just really good overall basketball players that the talent difference, obviously there's a talent difference between some of the top teams and some of the lower teams, but through and through, a lot of really good players across the Big Ten and any of the big conferences in college basketball. So any Big Ten win is really solid. I don't care if it's a Michigan. I don't care whether it's Purdue, who is number one in the team of the country for a while. I don't care if it's Illinois, who we're going to play soon, who we're going to talk about later. I don't care who it is. Any Big Ten win is an impressive win. So number one reason why it was impressive was because it was a Big Ten win. I don't care if Michigan was at the bottom of the conference and without their best player, Doug McDaniel. They still gave us a big-time challenge, and it's still Michigan basketball, and they've done some really good things over the past couple of years. But most importantly, the biggest reason why, in my opinion, it was a really impressive win last night was it showed grit and fight and determination that I don't know if I have seen from the team this year. We were down at half. Things weren't looking great at all. Our first half was bad. Everybody on Twitter, I was scrolling through my Twitter, just looking at what people had to say about the Maryland Terrapins and that basketball game that was going on, and I knew it wasn't going to be good. And everyone was like, fire Willard, fire Kevin Willard, fire Willard, fire Willard, fire the head coach. We are terrible. We suck. Whatever. You've heard all those type of things before. Whether it's talking about Maryland, whatever team it is, you've heard those type of things. And I'm like, hold off. Like, it's the first half. I mean, I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking overall. I knew I was going to come on here and say it. Obviously, I was kind of disappointed with how we came out, with it being a home game overall and all of that, and how bad we played in the first half. And Michigan didn't have their best player, and we were down by 12 at half, and it was a horrible first half. And I was like, okay, it's a bad first half. We're not the best team in the world. We're probably going to have bad halves. We're going to have bad offensive halves. It's not going to be perfect ever. I know Michigan's down their best player and whatever, but let's see what we can do in the second half. We still got 20 minutes of basketball left, a whole half left. I was like, let me not jump to conclusions yet, even though I was a little bit like, what's going on too? But I was like, let me see what can happen. Can they show some grit and determination to be able to come back into this game down by 12 at half? And they did that. That's why this win was so impressive, being down 12 at half, and then we outscored them 24-43 in the second half. That is coming out hot out of halftime. That is coming out with your head down, saying that's leadership. I know we have some very solid leaders on the team, at least for that day against Michigan, at least yesterday against Michigan, because You have to win that type of game with solid leadership. If you go down like that, you need your leaders, whether it's Jameer Young, Julian Reese, Dante Scott, guys that have been there a while, guys that know what to do, how to win those type of games, guys that have played basketball for a while now and are going to be moving off of the Maryland team soon. Those senior and junior, Julian Reese is a junior, but those older guys, you need that type of leadership. And most importantly, or not most importantly, but just one of the more important things for sure, you could argue maybe most importantly, the energy I saw when Deshaun Harris-Smith hit one of the most acrobatic layups I have seen him hit. I think with the right hand, it was like up and underneath the defender. Nicest play I've seen from Deshaun Harris-Smith on the season. One of the nicest plays I have seen anyone make this season. Really nice layup by Deshaun Harris-Smith. After that, he was hyped going into the huddle. He was excited, and I love to see that because I think some of that joy has been taken out from the players from Maryland basketball because this season has been poor at times, and it hasn't been the best overall. I mean, if you just peek at the record, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look that bad at all. But when you really get into the season overall, it's been definitely disappointing. And I think some of that joy, some of that energy has definitely been lacking. I remember after, I want to say it was the Indiana game, Kevin Willard talked about how he was disappointed in a couple players because of their effort overall. So overall, I saw in the second half, I saw full energy. I saw full effort, and you have to have that to outscore a team 24-43 after being down in the second half. They could have put their head down. They could have just went through the motions and said, this is over, whatever, this isn't going to happen overall. But we really plowed through and made it into a game, and we even covered the spread. The spread was 6 points after I think it was 5.5 at first, and then shifted down to 6 or 6.5 after the Doug McDaniel injury. And we even covered the spread, which is pretty impressive to be down 24-43 and to still be able to cover a 6 or 7 point spread at half. And overall, I just thought the grit and determination that we showed was really solid. Maryland's defense continues to look really solid, too. The Maryland defense has really impressed me. It's one of the better groups in the Big Ten, and it definitely gets overshadowed by our poor offense. The offense was terrible in the first half, and it's been terrible all year. I'm not going to lie. The offense has been terrible the entire year. We got a lot of guys passing up shots. There was that time where Deshaun Harris-Smith and Jordan Geronimo both pass up a three, and it was low on the shot clock, and then the shot clock ran out. We have guys struggling with confidence with their shot. We have the guys that can't really shoot the ball. We've had struggle finding lineups that can score the ball. Outside of Jameer Young, everyone has definitely had a challenge scoring the ball at some part of the year, and our team overall is one of the worst teams in Division I in shooting the three-point shot. We have trouble because teams like to pack it in. So our defense definitely gets overshadowed by the poor offense, and 21 points in the first half isn't going to get it, especially against some of the other teams that we're going to face, like the Illinois team that is coming up on the schedule. We got lucky with Michigan because they were struggling too offensively. They weren't blowing anyone out of the water in the first half, and we caught them without their best player overall. But the Maryland defense continues to keep us in games. Really solid. I really think it's one of the best groups in the Big Ten, and it's definitely a top 30, 40 group in the country. Even if you really dig into the stats, they'll tell you that Maryland's defense is definitely in the upper echelon tab in the country overall. But I do think the Maryland defense really played solid. Michigan only scored 24 points in the second half. That is perfect. If you can hold a team under 24, under 30, even 30, under 30 points about in a half, you're looking at a really solid part. Under 32 points, you're looking at a really solid game plan overall defensively. And that's what Maryland did to this Michigan team. Michigan didn't hit a single three in the second half, and Michigan was a solid three-point team coming into this game, and we forced them to go 0 for 6 from 3 in the second half. But yeah, overall, Michigan's three-point shooting wasn't bad at all this year. They were near the top of the Big Ten. I want to say like top 3 in the Big Ten in terms of three-point shooting percentage. So this wasn't like, oh, like this is a poor shooting team. Like it wasn't like, oh, we just forced Maryland to shoot 0 for 6. It was like Michigan was definitely shooting the ball not bad at all this year. Their struggle comes on the defensive side of the ball. So overall, our defense really has impressed me. It impressed me, the grit and determination we showed. And also any Big Ten win is going to be impressive. It's going to be talked about. It's going to go a long way for the Terrapins. But who had a very solid day defensively. Julian Reese, very solid day defensively, and we need him to be this type of player. He can do so many great things offensively and defensively. We'll see what happens for the rest of the year and what happens next year if he decides to stay with the Terrapins, because I'm just saying now, I don't know, but like if this year continues to kind of go down the road it has been for him, I can definitely see him trying somewhere else out. I'm not saying like that's a guaranteed or that's a report that I've heard. Like I can just see just how I've seen like these kind of things develop. I can definitely see him trying somewhere else. Also, his sister transferred away from Maryland to LSU. A lot of you guys will know his sister, but he had a very solid day. He had 5 blocks in that defensive anchor down there. Really helps the Terps. So that just goes along with how impressed I was with the defense overall. And if the Maryland defense can continue to play like that, we're going to be okay, even with poor offense, even though the offense still has to continue to get better. Still plenty to work on, but definitely a very impressive win. Maryland has a chance to get back into the thick of things this weekend on Sunday. I will tell you about how they can do that after this ad from FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find a bet in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. The Terps have another opportunity to make it 2 in a row and have a chance to get back into the thick of things in the Big Ten and college basketball this weekend and pick up a quad 1 type of win that goes a long way in your March Madness resume in Illinois. Maryland plays a very good Illinois team this weekend. Illinois is 13-3. And the 10th ranked team in the country, and the Terps have a chance to do something very impressive on Sunday. I have watched this Illinois team play many times this year. I think I've watched maybe like 4 whole games of them through and throughout like the whole season. I've watched a clip here, a clip there, 5-minute stint there. I've watched this Illinois team, so I feel like fairly familiar with them overall. And they just beat Michigan State last night right after we played, who's only 9-8, this Michigan State team. But don't get it twisted. That's a very solid Michigan State team. So when we play them, it's going to be a hard win to beat that Michigan State team. Of course, you know they're going to be well coached with Tom Izzo, and they always have really good players. Even though if it's not showing out this year, they still have a really solid team. They have one of the best players in the Big Ten at the guard spot. So overall, Illinois taking down Michigan State. Don't get it twisted. It's a very solid win, even though Michigan State isn't having their best year after being preseason top 4 or 5 team in the country. I think they were number 4 to start the year, but they just took down Michigan State in a dogfight, 68-71. They have adjusted. The big storyline about Illinois is the Terrence Shannon stuff, who has a case out on him, and they have adjusted without him. Terrence Shannon was one of their guards, their leading scorer, one of the best players in the country, but he's not with the team right now. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about that situation overall. I don't really want to get into it, but he was their best player. But Illinois, give them credit. They have adjusted without him, but they definitely aren't the same team without him. I heard one commentator, one sports analyst talking on one of the post-game shows or pre-game shows or whatever, and they said Illinois, they still think is a Sweet 16 team without him, which I thought was interesting. I think I would agree with that. They just have some really solid players overall. This Illinois team definitely is deserving of the number 10 team in the country, and they are good. But if you really – sorry, the sensor lights always get me. I always forget to make some movement during the podcast. But if you really go through their schedule, there's not one win that you can go into and say, like, wow, like, that's a win. Their best win is probably beating FAU, which is a solid team, but they've lost most of their games to their better opponents, and Maryland isn't going to be, like, one of the best teams they've played. Like, they played Purdue, they've played Marquette, they played a couple other really solid teams, but I do think this Illinois team is beatable, especially without Terrence Shannon. There's just something missing. Maryland can take this team down. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, they're very deserving of that top 10 team in the country at number 10 currently, and on track to be a second or third team in March probably. But I think the Terps do have a chance to win this game. I don't think this game is unwinnable, and it would be a huge opportunity for the Terps to get that big signature win that we're all desperate for, and to kind of get back in the thick of things, back on track in the Big Ten overall. I mean, 3-3 in the Big Ten is nothing to be like sad about, especially for this team and beating an Illinois type of team. Being 3-3 after being 1-3, like, that's not bad at all. I would take that any day for the Terps. I don't know about March Madness. I'm not saying we're going to be in the tournament if we beat Illinois. Like, I'm not saying that's the case, but maybe you have a shot to put a streak of games together and really put together a solid resume, and maybe you make a little bit of a run in the Big Ten tournament overall to put you in position to make the tournament and keep the season alive. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but overall, like, all you want is a chance at this point in the season with how the season's going so far. So when you go over to 10th ranked Illinois, Maryland has a huge opportunity to do something special in this game. And who knows, it's on the road. I'll be honest, I'll do my prediction right now. I'm not picking us to win this game. I don't think we're going to win this game. My point is that it's a huge opportunity for Maryland after how bad the season has gone to go to this Illinois team that just got beat up by Michigan State, even though it wasn't a loss. I think Michigan State proved that this team isn't like unbeatable at all, and no one's saying that they're unbeatable, but they just had a tough game against Michigan State. And I know we just had a tough game against Michigan, but they used a lot of energy in that game, and so did we. So overall, can that defense come out? Can we make some shots against Illinois on the road? I don't know. I haven't seen it enough to say I think it will happen, but I do think there's a chance for us to ride this momentum wave that comes from this Michigan game. And basketball, it's a game of runs, and it's also a big game of momentum like any sport. I really do believe in momentum. So after you win a game like Michigan, you can really ride that wave of momentum and see maybe we can go to Illinois on the road, even though it seems like we never win Illinois. It's going to be a tough environment. It'll probably be loud. People are excited about Illinois basketball right now because they're really good overall. If I was an Illinois fan, I would be excited too. But can we go down and beat Illinois, who is a bunch of really good, solid player? I don't know if, like, anyone just jumps out at you, but, like, their whole starting five and a couple guys off the bench, it's just solid with Coleman, Hawkins, and Marcus Domesack, and a bunch of other guys. Like, it's just solid everywhere. Guys that can shoot, guys that can get to the rim, guys that can play defense. Like, that team is built really well to win down the stretch. But I do give the Terps a chance to win this game. I do think Illinois wins. It's a tough environment to play in overall, and we stink on the road. It seems like we never win games on the road, and I would pick Illinois to win the game. We'll see what happens when the spread comes out, when they get to that final number. But Right now, I would say Illinois would win the game, but the Terps have the chance to do something special, have a huge opportunity when they travel up to Illinois, and let's see if we can do something with it. I mean, at this point, I don't think we have anything to lose. At this point, everyone's kind of like, this season's terrible, like fire Willard, and beating Michigan is great, but we got to keep it real a little bit. They were the worst team in the Big Ten, and their record kind of stinks right now. I think it's 6-10 after they lost to us, which isn't good at all. So I do think we can ride some momentum from it, but that Michigan win wasn't like we just beat Purdue, but it's still a Big Ten win. It's impressive. So let's see if we can ride that momentum and have a chance to take down Illinois in a huge opportunity for the Terps. A Maryland Terrapin player besides Jameer Young allowed us to win a game. We will talk about the impressive performance of that player after this ad from the Gametime app. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I've been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Dante Scott, the man, went off against Michigan, and he really won us the game. I don't think we win that game without Dante Scott yesterday. Usually I'm saying that about Jameer Young, but I don't think we win yesterday without Dante Scott performance, especially in the second half. He really won us the game, and he's had a streak of a couple of games where he's played really well in spots, and it hasn't been good in spots for Dante Scott. It's been an up and down year, but I need him to stay up and to stay on this trajectory, because if he does this, we can really be a solid team, I think, overall. I've been yelling we're too Jameer Young dependent, and we finally won a game without him going for like 20 or 25 or even 37 against UCLA. Young only had 12 points, while Dante Scott came up huge with 22 points, and he went 4 for 7 from the three-point line and made 4 threes in the second half. That is absolutely huge. His shot has improved so much since he came in as a freshman. He can really shoot the ball now. He's one of our better shooters for sure. I think if you look at the stats, he probably has, I would guess, the most three-point makes on the team, but he made some huge threes down the stretch. Him and Kaiser made some huge threes down the stretch. And that lineup where instead of Jordan Geronimo starting, it's Kaiser in that spot, and we kind of play small ball with Jameer Young at the 1, Deshaun at the 2, and then it's Dante at the 4, who isn't even that's not even that small at the 4, and then Kaiser at the 3 and Reese at the 5. I love that lineup. I think we should go into next game with that lineup. I've been shouting that Jahari Long maybe should get a chance to start, but he's been hurt. So I would give Kaiser the start because it brings so much more spacing to the lineup. Because with Geronimo in there, I've said it, he's good defensively and whatever, but he has offensive limitations that really hurt us overall. And when Dante Scott can stretch the floor and go 4-7 from 3, and then Kaiser can also stretch the floor, and then Deshaun Harris-Smith, I mean, teams usually guard him out there, which I'm still kind of surprised that teams aren't just backing up completely. Teams still kind of guard him out there. And then Jameer Young can shoot, of course. I think it brings so much more spacing for Jameer Young to get to the basket, Reese play around him for around 1 sometimes. Dante Scott can post up. There's so much more flexibility offensively, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the lineup. That was the lineup to start in the second half, I'm pretty sure, last game against Michigan. I love that lineup, but I just wanted to highlight Dante Scott because what a performance from him. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked On Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so make sure you subscribe. But thank you for listening to Locked On Terps.